I bet you didn't have Gui Santos being the Warriors' best player on a winning night on your docket for the evening, yet that's exactly what happened, and we're celebrating. Folks, given the way this Warriors team is, given the amount of players missing tonight due to injury, you're taking those wins however they come. The Warriors are in survival mode. They have yet to fall below 500 this season, and that stands true thanks to a way closer than comfort victory of the Detroit Pistons tonight as the Warriors start a 4-game road trip. Let's break it down next. Happy Thursday night, everybody, and welcome to the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Woo! Let's go! In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see.
How about that Gui Santos? Giggity, 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 giggity. Ain't no Quagmire. Welcome to the Golden Days. I am your host for the evening, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. I'm over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program's on at least most social media platforms at Golden Days Pod. If Blue Sky is still a thing, I have no idea. We are there at Golden Days as the Golden State Warriors hang on for a 107-104 victory tonight over the Detroit Pistons. Detroit, what? Golden State is what is up. So there you go. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, tonight's episode brought to you by a couple of sponsors, and I'm very excited to announce 2 new sponsors coming next week. This thing is growing, folks. There's still time if any of you out there run a business, run any sort of venture that you want to partner up with us at. All you got to do is send an email. It's super easy because at some point we're not going to have space anymore, and I want to be a partner with you. I want to help grow your venture in the same way we're trying to grow this one here. Just email warriors24pod@gmail.com, warriors24pod@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with the program. And if you want to partner with us, let's communicate. Let's have that mutually beneficial relationship where everyone is happy. And that includes our sponsors, starting with Vitamin Energy, the energy boost that is good for you. Unlike Red Bull, unlike 5 Hour and all those other products that they're selling that you can buy at your local gas station or pretty much anywhere, Vitamin Energy gives you that same boost, except it's good for you. And just by entering this show's name into the promo code box at checkout, you get 20% off. Just use Golden Days. Days spelled like dazed and confused at checkout, and you will get 20% off your order at vitaminenergy.com, or go to vitaminenergy.com/Golden Days, and you'll get that 20% discount. Today's episode also brought to you by BetOnline, who continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and so much more. BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. And for the Golden State Warriors in the game they played tonight, a little too close for comfort down the stretch. This was a game that the Warriors were in control of for most of the evening until the very end, when the Detroit Pistons decided to pull off a 22-6 run that almost capitulated with a Malik Beasley 3 that would have tied the game on just a messy end-of-game situation where Cade Cunningham was at the free throw line. The Pistons are down 3, and he tries to intentionally miss. The ball, the refs initially say that the intentional missed free throw attempt did not hit the rim, which would be automatic ball to the Warriors, until a review showed that it actually did nick the rim. Dennis Schroeder committed a foul during this possession, and so the Pistons got the ball back and had a chance, again, to tie this game. And Malik Beasley, who in this game was 4 of 14 shooting from three, had 21 points, had a chance to tie it. If you're a member of Dub Nation, if you're a Warriors fan, I guarantee that was not a comfortable moment for you, because moments like that this season have not resulted in positive conclusions on a regular basis, on a consistent basis for the Golden State Warriors. But nonetheless, the Warriors are lucky enough to have Malik Beasley miss. This was a night where a lot of Warriors players were out because of injury. And as a result, you had players like Gui Santos getting huge minutes. You also had Buddy Hield, borderline saving the day for the Warriors. We're going to talk about him because the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast had some interesting stats in regards to Buddy Hield and how the Warriors succeed or fail depending on his scoring output. But tonight he delivered, and it was huge. And again, when you're talking about a team that's missing Moses Moody due to injury, you had Andrew Wiggins, a late scratch for personal reasons. That is what was listed on the injury report. For official reasons, unofficially, he decided to step away last minute because of the birth of his second child. So that was the reasoning. And the Warriors also were missing Jonathan Kuminga. They're missing Brandon Pajemski. They're missing Gary Payton II. They were shorthanded. And despite that, you had a 19-point effort from Buddy Hield. Stephen Curry's shot was way off. 2 of 14 from deep for Mr. Curry. However, that second three-pointer was a 4-point play in a clutch moment. He makes them when they counts. That's what the great ones do. Despite an incredibly off night for Stephen Curry, had his first assist in 3 games as well. He had 6 assists. We'll talk about his performance. But Gui Santos, have to start with him. He is our Vitamin Energy player of the game. Again, I guarantee you didn't have that written down on your betting card, but nonetheless, Gui Santos, your Vitamin Energy player of the game. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Make sure you use that promo code Golden Days, days spelled like dazed and confused, that awesome movie, one of my all-time favorites, to get your 20% discount, or go to vitaminenergy.com/Golden Days to enjoy, again, 20% off your purchase. And Gui Santos, your player of the night. He was a perfect, no, he wasn't perfect, I apologize, but he made his first 3 3-point attempts in this game. Again, the Warriors incredibly shorthanded. This was the first game all season that Gui Santos was part of the rotation. This was also the first. This was the first game all season where Gui Santos played in the first half. That just goes to show just what he's been doing all year, just relegated to the end of the bench. And, when you have this many injuries, his number was called. Kind of makes you wonder, should we have seen him sooner? Maybe, I don't know. But he played tonight, and he played 25 minutes, 37 seconds, was 3 of 4 from deep in the first half, 4 of 6 from the three-point line for the game. Those 6 three-point attempts were his only field goal attempts for the entire game. He did not try one single 2-point shot, and it didn't matter. He finished the game with 13 points, added 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, and those 13 points were a difference maker. Gui Santos, the Brazilian wonder. We used to have one of those, the Warriors did, way back when, with Leandro Barbosa, in case you folks forgot that. So the Brazilian connection, nothing new with the Warriors franchise. Gui Santos, though, making the massively huge impact. That is new, and he is your Vitamin Energy player of the game. Gui Santos, props to you, sir. You deserve the accolades. He was in the Olympics last year. For folks who forgot about that, he was on the Brazilian team, and Gil Espina, don't worry, I'm going to give love to Looney. There's going to be other players getting some love as well, because Looney did have a big game tonight. But Gui Santos, what a terrific performance. Again, they don't win that game without Gui stepping up. And I'm going to guess that Gui Santos will speak to the media after the game. If we get those sound bites in time for tonight's postgame show, we will definitely play some of those back. But for now, again, we're just going to give him nothing but love. No sound yet coming from the Warriors in the postgame show, but we will definitely go to that soon if it's available. So, again, the Golden State Warriors, they stay above 500. They're now 19-18 on the season. But it wasn't just Gui Santos who had a great game, although, again, he was our player of the night. Lindy Waters III. Got to give a tip of the cap to you as well, sir. The guy is there for a number of reasons. I've seen people mention that he's a connector out there on both sides of the ball, and I do agree with that. He has a high basketball IQ. Just unfortunately, there are nights where his three does not fall. Tonight, thankfully, they did. He had 50% of his three-point attempts, was 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, 4 of 7 from the field total, 11 points, added 2 boards for Mr. Lindy Waters III as part of a bench that I don't think many were expecting much from it. But between Lindy Waters III, between Gui Santos, Kyle Anderson, giving them 9 minutes, 24 seconds that were clutch, and Kevon Looney, Jill Espina in the chat asking for some love for him. I'm going to give it to him right now. Kevon Looney sharing time at that center position along with Trayce Jackson-Davis against the Pistons team that has size up front. Jalen Duren is a baller. And then you have Isaiah Stewart, a.k.a. Big Stu, who at one point in this game tonight got into a little skirmish. Dennis Schroeder fell into the stands, and for whatever reason, there was a little kerfuffle after that, where the Pistons and Warriors players are talking smack. I think what started that little incident was actually Draymond sharing some words with Ronald Holland II. I think Holland was trying to match word for word with Dre. You're never going to win that battle. The moment any player starts engaging with Draymond Green, that right there signifies Draymond winning the psychological battle. He wants players to engage back, because the moment players are doing that, their focus is no longer in the game of basketball. Their focus is on Draymond Green and how big of a pest he is. And the moment that distraction starts, and the focus is away from basketball, you've got an edge. So there was a little skirmish there at one point. I can't even remember why we brought that up. Oh, because of Isaiah Stewart, and I say me, who presents size for the Warriors. So the team had to combat that. Trayce Jackson-Davis, I thought, had a fabulous night. He was the runner-up, in my opinion, for player of the game. But Kevon Looney also had a good night, 4 of 6 from the field. He grabbed 8 boards. Some of those were clutch in the final quarter. Some tough rebounds there. Added 3 assists, had 8 points. Trayce Jackson-Davis, though, he's been solid. And you know, he'll have these bad nights, and I say that referencing more specifically like the Miami Heat game. And I think the game before that, let me get my schedule out, because I know Trayce, before the Heat, the Warriors played the Kings, and Domantas Sabonis destroyed Trayce Jackson-Davis. That was one of the worst games probably of his career. And kudos to Steve Kerr, sticking with the gun. Gave Trayce Jackson-Davis the start, gave Trayce Jackson-Davis some minutes tonight, more specifically 26 minutes, 17 seconds, and Trayce Jackson-Davis delivered 7 of 9 from the field, 10 rebounds in this game, 14 points to go along with that. And Trayce is filling, in a lot of ways, the role that Jonathan Kuminga normally does, which is the finisher, which is the inside penetrator, and he's coming through in that regard. He's manning up with the biggest players out there, and he is not getting used and abused. So you got to give him his kudos in that front. Maybe the best stat, though, from Trayce Jackson-Davis, besides the fact that he had 14 points, 10 boards, on 7 of 9 shooting, he was a plus 16 in net rating, the only player on the Warriors in the positive in that category, meaning every time he was out there in those 26 minutes, 17 seconds, good things were happening. No other Warriors player was even in double figures in net rating, yet Trayce Jackson-Davis finishing the game tonight with a plus 16. Bravo to Trayce Jackson-Davis. But Buddy Hield, there were some stats about Buddy. And I always want to check back to make sure I'm not muted. Look at great Rich Mitchin. You're always, if there's one thing that you could always count on, it's a good old-fashioned troll. Trey Kuminga douche. You're funny though. But Buddy Hield, There's some interesting stats about him, and I'm going to read those to you right now that were published late in tonight's broadcast. So I'm stealing this from NBC Sports Bay Area, but the stat is really, it really paints a picture in terms of Buddy's impact on the season, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll even there's a visual here because I posted this graphic or this information. I apologize, on both Threads and Instagram. On Threads and Twitter. I'm jumping way ahead of myself here. Buddy Hield on the season for the 19-18 Golden State Warriors. When the Warriors score 18, I apologize. I don't know what's going on with me. When Buddy Hield scores 18 or more points in a game this season, the Warriors are now 9-0. These stats are before the end result of tonight's game. So it gives you it paints a pretty clear visual there, right? That when Buddy scores, good things are happening. When Buddy Hield scores 17 points or less, the Warriors are just 10-18, right? So long story short, when Buddy scores, undefeated, now 9-0. When Buddy doesn't score, they're a below 500 team. And Buddy, and we've talked about this in terms of the Warriors' great start, where they started the season 12-3. In those first, and to narrow it down more specifically, in the first 7 games of the season, Buddy scored 18 or more points in 6 of those first 7 games. He was off to a rocking start, and Sophia Jones on Monday's show added some great perspective in terms of Buddy's performance, which is that what she was seeing in a lot of those games was Buddy being much more of a catch-and-shoot player, much less of an off the dribble type scorer where he's trying to create his own shots. And we were seeing a lot of that early in the season, where Buddy off the ball was running his defender out of the gym. He was exuding the kind of energy we normally expect from Stephen Curry with the off the ball movement. And for whatever reason, the offense has abandoned that scheme that set up Buddy so nicely. And so what's happened is he scored 18 or more points in 6 of the first 7 games. He was the Warriors' leading scorer early on in the season. And then in the last 29 games, let's make this 30 because this stat doesn't count tonight. He scored 18 or more points just 3 times in the last 30 games. I saw someone in the chat say that Buddy is inconsistent. I feel like that's too positive of a spin. Like, it's far worse than that. This is an inconsistency. Oh, here it is. Ogie Baltazar in the chat writing, the problem is Buddy's inconsistent. Again, I think that's putting it way too nicely. Buddy has just sucked for 30 games. And it was a huge relief to see him step up tonight. And just to finish these stats real fast, again, 18 or more points 3 times in the last 30 games, including tonight, which resulted yet again in a win. And Buddy Hield, 5 of 11 from deep tonight, 7 of 15 from the field total, just shy of 50% shooting, 5 boards on the night, 3 assists on the night, 19 points, 5 rebounds for Buddy Hield on just shy of 50% shooting from both the field and beyond the arc. It's just such a shame he can't do this on a more regular basis because clearly that's what the Warriors need. They need shooting. They need scoring. And this is why the Vucevic signing would be incredible. You're getting a 7-footer who's pouring in nearly 43% of his three-point attempts, who's scoring over 20 points a game. What are we waiting for here? It's the fact that there's another night where the Warriors, a day and night, another 24 hours has passed, and the Warriors still have not made a trade. What the hell are you waiting for? That if there's a negative to tonight's win, it's this. You're possibly giving the Warriors an excuse to hold off on making a move. You beat the Pistons. They're an okay team at best. But you also needed a lot of borderline miracles to happen to beat him. You needed Buddy Hield to score 18 or more points for just the 3rd time in 30 games. You needed Lindy Waters to hit 50% of his shots. You needed Gui Santos to hit 4 3-pointers to barely survive this Pistons game. I just hope this does not create a sense of false security for the Golden State Warriors and thinking, oh, wow, we just beat the Pistons and we were missing over half our team. Great. We don't need to make a move. Yes, you do. These types of nights are anomalies with this current roster. Please make a trade. Do not hold off on that. Before we continue talking about the Warriors tonight, I want to play this clip. This is Sam Amick of The Athletic, and he was on with FanDuel's TV network. It's incredible that FanDuel has an actual network and a channel. Like Michelle Beadle's on it, like Kay Adams is on it. I'm sure there's other people. Those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head. And there's also that one, what's his name? He's Lou Williams, I think, is an analyst on that channel. Anyway, so Sam Amick, I guess he makes regular appearances on this network, and he talked about the Warriors in terms of their trade pursuits, in terms of Jimmy Butler. Some interesting things were said there. We've covered most of this on the program, but nonetheless, just an update on the Warriors in terms of the trade front and some Jimmy Butler news. Let's hear from Sam Amick talking about the Golden State Warriors.
That being said,
Wait a second. I'm sorry. What is going on here? What is going on here? I'm sorry. I screwed that up. Hold on. What happened here, man? That was a technical issue. I apologize for that. Let's try this again. This is Sam Amick, and there's one other reason why I'm playing this clip, and I'm actually, if there's a bright side to that technical difficulty, I am off my game tonight. I apologize. Okay, now we got the screen shared. Sam Amick, the other reason why I wanted to play this clip is because Tim Kawakami was not the only person who witnessed, following the Warriors Heat game Tuesday night, a discussion behind the scenes between Warriors owner Joe Lacob and Warriors general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. Tim Kawakami reported that the two do meet regularly after games, and they meet at, I forgot the name of the super elite, like, oligarch club. It's kind of what it is. It's like most NBA arenas, maybe all of them, have like a bar and a dining establishment reserved for like the elite of the season ticket holders, right? And I think Sam will reveal the name of this place in this clip right here. I apologize for forgetting that, but Bob Myers and Joe Lacob used to routinely meet here, and I guess this tradition carried over, and now Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Joe Lacob meet there. And this conversation between the two, however, is usually not taking place in front of media. And Sam Amick provided some more details on this exchange. So let's try this again. I apologize for the snafu there. This is Sam Amick of The Athletic talking about what he witnessed between Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy Jr., in addition to the latest on the trade front with the Golden State Warriors. So here is Sam.
look for them. That being said, it is just so, again, we have a month to go, right? So the other night when I'm in San Francisco and they get walloped by Miami, after the game, there's a place called the Bridge Club near the arena floor at Chase Center. And the owner, Joe Lacob, and GM Mike Dunleavy often meet there. You know, back when Bob Myers ran the team, that's where they would meet as well. And it sounds like it got a little spicy down there, just as far as, you know, the post-loss unpacking of what had happened on the floor. And you felt, you know, some people who walked by and even engaged with Joe and Mike could really feel the frustration from the group. And that makes a lot of sense. They just got beat really badly. So then what happens is, whether it's Jimmy Butler or anybody else, you know, there's going to be a constant recalculation happening for teams like the Warriors, and just what do we need to do? Because it's one thing to not feel like you're a contender. It's another to go out and just get destroyed by a Heat team that didn't have Jimmy Butler. Their reasoning for not going after Jimmy, even beyond the money, is that to this point, they've been pretty happy with Andrew Wiggins' play. And the idea of also giving up a Jonathan Kuminga in that deal, even though he's hurt right now, is something they weren't looking to do. The prospect of Wiggins and Kuminga going out and Butler coming in, they didn't like kind of how that looked for them.
Look, if the Miami Heat are, in fact, are insisting And I don't know. I feel like this is almost dated in terms of the Jimmy Butler stuff. I don't think Sam's presenting anything new here. But just to reiterate, if in fact the Miami Heat are expecting the Warriors to give up Jonathan Kuminga for Jimmy Butler, they're out of their goddamn minds. Now, look, smart negotiating usually involves starting off with asking for more than you are expecting to end up with, right? You ask for more, you come to a middle ground. If your initial request is very far to the extreme, then maybe that middle ground is far more advantageous for you. And it sounds like that's what the Miami Heat that's the approach they're taking here, which is let's ask for the moon. They'll say no. We'll end up in a place where maybe we get more than we actually will expect. The Miami Heat are not going to get Jimmy Butler. I'm sorry. The Miami Heat are not going to get Jonathan Kuminga. Just give up on that idea. That would be one of the most foolish trades any team, let alone the Golden State Warriors, could do. Now, the Andrew Wiggins part of this, do not understand this idea that he's untouchable. And who knows what Lacob and Dunleavy Jr. were arguing about. Maybe it came down to something like that. Like, why are you insisting that Wiggins is untouchable? It was another single-digit scoring night for him. Why do you insist Wiggins is untouchable? The dude takes more personal days than an employee working at an Amazon warehouse. I don't get it. Andrew Wiggins should be available for trade if you can use him to bring something back. It's borderline absurd. Do not, under any circumstance, pretend, though, that Jonathan Kuminga should be included in a trade for a soon-to-be 36-year-old Jimmy Butler, who is disgruntled, who may or may not be washed, especially since you can get him for far cheaper. But I still thought the more interesting part of that clip was the fact that, that Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy Jr. Could not hold back what's troubling them and hide it from the public. You know that they're pissed off if they're letting the unhappiness behind the scenes spill over into the public eye. That's kind of crazy to me. So with all that said, that's what's going on there. And again, I think it's absolutely insane that we are yet another 24 hours has gone by and still no trade. Again, this was a minor miracle for the Warriors to win this game tonight, yet they do. They're now 19-18. The season is still very much alive for this team, but they better do something. And I hope that action is taken soon. The Warriors are playing the Indiana Pacers tomorrow night. Paulie Mack, side note, of famed Murph and Mack history, he's going to join me for tomorrow night's postgame show, and he's got a new his channel is now officially launched, Paulie's Particles. So him and I, we might do a dual stream. We'll see what happens there, but regardless, Paulie's going to join the show tomorrow. Always love his energy. And for the Warriors, a huge win. I'm going to post a link if anyone wants to join the show tonight, if they have anything positive or negative to say. And look, if you do, I don't blame you, because every time I spend time on social media, the amount of just stupidity I read there from people who either pretend they're Warriors fans and or who pretend that they're a media member there's so much ignorance and tomfoolery in terms of what's being espoused out there. I still see people talking about trading Kuminga. I know one person in the chat was trolling. I highlighted that just a moment ago, but there are some people who are seriously talking about that. And what I keep repeating time and time and again, I will personally entertain a Jonathan Kuminga trade discussion on this program. I dedicated a whole episode to it like 2 weeks ago. But if you're going to do that, propose solutions. Don't be the ignoramus who's just yelling absurd complaints, who's just bitching and whining without offering any solutions. Meaning, you want to trade Kuminga? Add to that, who do you want to trade? Who do you want the Warriors to trade them for? And if you think Jimmy Butler is worth it, yeah, you're going to get shut down because that's a dumb idea. But Cam Johnson, yeah, that's a dumb idea because you can get these players for far less, and we finally have a 1 month sample size from Kuminga in terms of what this kid can do over a month playing 30-plus minutes, and the result is he gave you over 20 points a game, he gave you over 6 rebounds a game, he shot nearly 40% from three. So the kid can play. He just needs minutes, and if you're going to trade him, it better be for a damn good player. Anyone out there who thinks he's not going to have an offer for a max from a team out there this offseason, you're on crack. There's a lot of teams out there who see the value in Jonathan Kuminga. But besides that, look, this team has to make a move. It's insane to keep waiting for this as well. Kev F saying that at this point, anyone saying trade Kuminga is just trolling. But there's a lot of people on social media saying this still. Like, and Twitter is where the dumbest crews are. Sorry, and obviously I'm not I doubt anyone in this audience is included in that. But there are some ignoramuses on that Twitter front, and there's quite a few of them who still bring up Jonathan Kuminga's name. Some idiot yesterday was trying to engage with me saying, yeah, but dude, look at his net rating, bro, when he's on the floor with Steph and when he's off the floor with Steph, like trying to create this argument that there's certain stats indicating that when Kuminga comes on while Steph's on the floor, he brings the net rating down. Never mind the fact that there's 5 people on the court. So it's not just Steph and Kuminga out there. Yes, the moronic ideas are plentiful in the social media front. What I will say for those ignoramuses who bring up weird random stats, just cherry picking and reaching to try and hate on the kid, Steph and Kuminga collectively, their net rating this season as a duo, plus 65. Meaning when those two are on the floor with any other 3 people, they're outscoring the opposition by 65 points. But regardless, yeah, if you want to come on the show and just, if you're happy about tonight's win, join the party. Stephen Curry, by the way, did not have a good night. And I'm going to read Stephen Curry's stats in the first half, first and foremost, because just to give you an idea as to how much he was struggling in this game before hitting some huge shots late in the fourth quarter, including, yet another 4-point play. The Golden State Warriors' 10th 4-point play of the season. They lead the NBA in that category. And if my math is correct, that means Andrew Wiggins has 6 4-point plays this year, and Stephen Curry has 4. But going to the first half, Stephen Curry was just 1 of 6 from beyond the arc, just 4 of 11 from the field. Going into the locker room at halftime, he had 9 points, 6 rebounds. I mean, it's incredible how often he posts great numbers in terms of rebounding. And he also had 5 assists, which snapped a drought there. He went 2 straight games without logging a single assist, which is wild in my opinion. Wesley Morton in the chat saying, I'm 5'8" and ready for that 2-way deal. The right sides for Steve Kerr's small ball setup. Love the chicanery there. Stephen Curry, through the first 3 quarters, I even have that stat, was 1 of 11 from 3. He didn't score a single point in the third quarter. That's insane. He was having a bad night. And that fourth quarter, though, especially when you factor in that 4-point play, which was huge, that happened late in the game, even though Steph was only 1 of 3 from beyond the arc in the fourth quarter, he only made 1 shot, but what he also made were free throws, 5 of them more specifically, a perfect 5 of 5 from that charity stripe, 8 fourth quarter points for Stephen Curry, and his final game log, 17 points, despite going just 2 of 14 from beyond the arc. He had 10 rebounds in this game, also had 6 assists in this game. So Stephen Curry hitting them when they count. Now, unfortunately, the team's free throw shooting woes continue. Steph was a perfect 5 for 5. Dennis Schroeder was a perfect 2 of 2, and that's where the good news stops. Draymond Green was just 1 of 2. Trace Jackson Davis missed both his free throw attempts. Kevon Looney missed his 1 free throw attempt. Gui Santos was 1 of 2 at the free throw line. And Pat Spencer, who logged in 3 minutes, 52 seconds in this game, all in the first half, had 1 trip to the free throw line, made 1 of 2 free throws. He scored 1 point total, and that's because of that 1 free throw. So nonetheless, again, the Warriors win. You got to feel good about that, especially on a night given how many players were missing. Moses Moody sitting this one out. Kuminga's out for a while. Brandon Podziemski, who's on this road trip. Kuminga's also on the road trip, which I do think is a really good sign in terms of just camaraderie, chemistry. Side note, him and Brandon Pajemski have forged a very strong friendship behind the scenes. And it's good to see if those two are part of the long-term picture, them developing that kind of relationship and chemistry now, because good things are coming in the future with those two. At least I do. I really do believe that. So it was good to see Kuminga with the crew. Gary Payton II is still out because of injury. There were a lot of dudes missing tonight. Andrew Wiggins again missing the game because of the birth of his second child, and Moses Moody as Orime. I apologize if I mispronounced that. I probably did. Adding Moses Moody injured. Gamer FTP adding that both Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga have been held hostage by the Steve Kerr logjam. Another thing, I guess I'm on a roll here in terms of just pure idiocy that I'm seeing on social media. There's actually a few people out there who are bringing up Ty Jerome's name, and it reminded me. I'm like, what was Ty Jerome doing for the Warriors when he was on this team as a two-way player back in 2022-23? You know what Ty Jerome's net rating was on the season? And again, when we're talking about net rating and we're talking about an entire season as your sample size, and I figured out what this little blur thing is here, by the way, for the YouTube audience. It's this light that I attached. I guess it's blocking a tiny corner of my camera. Anyways, so Ty Jerome in his one season with the Warriors, over the entire season, his net rating was a -92. Do not forget he was literally non-existent defensively. Do not forget his shooting was not clutch. And do not forget, every time he was on that floor stealing minutes for Moses Moody, the team was struggling as a result. And you have a few people out there bringing his name up because the Cleveland Cavaliers are kicking some ass, and Ty Jerome coming off the bench for that really deep, stacked team is putting up some good numbers this year. Don't forget, he was MIA all of last year, did not play at all. I think he played maybe I think he played one game, but missed the entire season pretty much. And his one whole year with the Warriors posted a -92. So do not pretend that those years were somehow good with Ty Jerome play. No, it was a complete disaster. But yeah, good for him though. However, that he's doing well with the Cavaliers. But don't wish for that to come back, because when he was with the Warriors, those were not good times. Let's see if there's any sound that has come down here as we start to wrap it up on a Thursday night. The Golden State Warriors again improving to 19-18. They have held off falling below 500 on the season a few times now that their record has fallen to 500. And Sam Gordon, my boy, he's going to come back on the show soon, posted this clip on his Twitter account, @BySam. Here is Steve Kerr. Let's hear from the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. I will give him credit. He did give Gui Santos 25 minutes, and those were a huge 25 minutes. Here is Steve Kerr talking about the Warriors pulling off a win in the first of the team's 4-game road trip.
Well deserved, we talked before the game about how many battles can you win, little battles in the game, box out, loose fall. He won 1 million battles. That's what wins games, And he's been waiting all year, and he finally got his chance, and he delivered. And that's what this league is about. Ron Adams talks about it all the time. It's a production league. Get your chance, you got to take advantage of it. He was brilliant, and this game is about so much more than whether you make a shot or miss a shot. It's defense, it's rebounding, it's hustle, sprinting, it's everything you saw Gui do tonight. That's what wins games. So that's why he got the ovation, because the guys recognized that. He was fantastic.
He was fantastic. That's Steve Kerr. Talking about Gui Santos. The question for me, if I was there, would be: are we going to see him again, or was this just a one-off, and then you're going to go back to giving your favorites all the minutes again? That's what I'm curious about. Will Gui Santos be rewarded for this and actually play some more games? We shall see. Orime, please forgive me, I know I'm butchering your name, saying, I don't believe anything Steve Kerr says now. I don't blame you. Unpopular truth in the chat saying, can the Warriors get Brandon Ingram? I would personally love that. The one guy who does not like that idea, though, unfortunately, is calling all the shots, and that's Mr. Steve Kerr. Brandon Ingram played for Steve Kerr for the U.S. team at the FIBA World Cup. This was the international basketball tournament a year before the Olympics. And by the end of that tournament, a tournament that the U.S. finished 6th in, a tournament where Steve Kerr thought the best player on that team was Austin Reeves. Absurd. Brandon Ingram had fallen out of the rotation by the end of that tournament. And all indications are that that he's not Steve Kerr's guy and vice versa. It is not a good relationship. And so do not expect that. I would love it. I mean, could you imagine like what a 6'10", 6'11" guy who has a resemblance to Kevin Durant, who's a scorer, who under the right system and the right culture could also be a great defensive player, who could be your small ball 4. I would love it. But guess who doesn't love it? This guy right here. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm pointing to Steve Kerr. So, and that's why. That is why so many free agents and so many trade proposals get shot down is because of this guy. Because he is picky, because he only wants certain players on his team that fit a very specific mold. And of course, obviously, his gut has to give the approval too. So we got to make sure the gut's happy. Devin 1825 adding DeJounte Murray would be nice. And you bring up a good point, Devin, because ideally what the Warriors would probably benefit most from is, given that Stephen Curry is, and I reported this last week on the program, what I've heard behind the scenes, and it's nothing new, but I don't know if we've ever actually like seen a legitimate report substantiating this, which is that Stephen Curry himself has told the team that he needs help and that his body's breaking down. And that's why whoever they sign, that Steve Kerr and company, they're looking for that shooting guard or the guard to play alongside Steph to have those ball handling skills, because Steph wants to play off the ball. He wants to preserve his body and last as long as possible. And that's where DeJounte Murray would be a good idea, because you're getting someone who has those point guard skills, who can handle being your ball handler. Sorry for the redundancy there. Yet can also score, right? Because whoever this person is needs to be able to score the ball as much as pass the ball, facilitate the offense. Suddenly, James Harden doesn't sound like the worst idea in the world. I know he's not available, but you're kind of seeing the theme here, right? In terms of what that player ideally would look like next to Stephen Curry. And it's why Brandon Podziemski is not a good idea, because Podziemski, at least at this point in his career, is not a scorer. It's why Dennis Schroeder is like a meh, because the dude's 6'1", the guy's not known for being a scorer, and so you have nights where some nights he looks great, and this, like tonight, it was like a mixed bag with Schroeder. He played 34 minutes, 47 seconds in this game, led all players in minutes. He was 5 of 11 from the field, just 1 of 5 from deep. His three-point shot has not been falling consistently, but he was hitting some important short-range shots and mid-range shots. Added 6 assists. He had no rebounds in this game, but he did have 13 points. So tonight was a decent night for Dennis Schroeder, but I'm following your logic here, Devin 1825. I would not mind DeJounte Murray either. I would prefer that it's Murray and someone else, because this team has multiple needs, and those needs extend to beyond just someone playing alongside Steph. I still think Andrew Wiggins is your answer, but Steve Kerr is opposed to that idea. So, DeJounte Murray wouldn't hurt, but this team needs size, and I'm still sticking wholeheartedly with Nikola Vucevic as my dream target, simply because he was not going to cost you a lot. You're not giving up any assets outside of like second round picks. Please do it. Please make the deal happen. Let us hear about, like, I hate to admit this, but screw it. Who cares? When I first heard that Andrew Wiggins was suddenly out, it was a very late decision. Like the news about that dropped around 1 p.m. this afternoon, 1:30 Pacific time. And because he was a participant in shoot around this morning. So the initial thought when this news dropped from some of the beat reporters that Wiggins was suddenly out for personal reasons is that he maybe got traded. I was ready to throw a goddamn party, man. I really was. I was ready to just, turn the camera on and the lights and have an emergency show, and it was going to be celebratory, and we were going to just, revel until we found out that Wiggins was missing the game because of the birth of his second child. So yet more games missed because of personal reasons, from Andrew Wiggins, and he's not getting traded. No trades, period. So that's where we're at right now. Dying 1, 2, 3, 4, bringing up the Atlanta Hawks game plan. Which is that surround a player like Trae Young with 4, long wing type players. I mean, don't. My only response to that is, it's not like the Hawks are some great team. Like, they're a 500 team in the Eastern Conference. Dyson Daniels has worked out beautifully for him. Reese Shar might end up being a really good player, but the Warriors can do that now simply by sorry, I got like something in my eye right here. Simply by having a lineup of Wiggins as your 2, Kuminga as your 3 when he comes back, Dre, and then Trace Jackson Davis rounding out your top 5. That is your team right there. Please forgive me if you're watching this. I got literally got something in the eyeball that is not a fun feeling. Anyway, so okay, I'll suck it up. But the Warriors already have the personnel to do something similar to that. It's just Kerr won't do it. He wants like another point guard next to Steph. And it's like, if you get the right person, okay. Like someone who can score, someone who maybe more importantly can defend. They already have the personnel. They just won't do it. Anyways. Let's see if there's any more sound from the night. We'll stop sharing that screen on an evening where the Golden State Warriors, again, hang on for a 107-104 victory in Detroit. And again, I just played Steve Kerr talking about Gui Santos having himself a night. When the Warriors are on the road, the post-game sound diminishes because usually there's only like 2 or 3 media members traveling with the team. And that's literally like, oh no, we got to say, it's Sam Gordon stepping up. We got some Gui Santos sound. Let's hear from Gui. This is, again, Gui Santos having a career night of his young career, 13 points on the evening, 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, added a free throw. That was a scoring. And here, again, courtesy of the San Francisco Chronicles, Sam Gordon coming to us from Detroit. Here is Gui Santos.
Man, having guys like Steph, Draymond, all the teammates, all my teammates cheering for me is very special. Especially, like that was the game that I had the opportunity to be on the court, and I played well, and have the whole team like cheering for me. That feels so good. That's show how together we are right now.
You probably knew coming in you were going to get some minutes tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. What was what did you want to do? I mean, are you just energy?
Yeah, when I saw that Wiggs was out, I said, okay, so I'm probably in the rotation right now, so I'm gonna be locking for all the games, but this one is special, But just like was thinking like go in there, bring energy, get some extra possession, and make the team play better. So I try to do like my best on the floor, like even on the offense rebound. I see a ball on the floor, I'm diving to the ball. All that's like small things that can change the game. I was like lucky to do that to change the game.
And we would too. Hopefully we see more of Gui Santos. Kudos to the kid once again for a great performance. Clinton Catalico in the chat saying, can we rest Steve Kerr for 10 games and just see what happens? Yeah, I wish that was an option, but no. Patrick saying the Warriors need 2 trades. Possibly, again, if they're going to be steadfast about Wiggins being untouchable, which is absurd, then you're probably only going to get 1. And at a bare minimum, the good thing about Schroeder, I'm really sorry, man. My eyes like bug me right now. The thing about Schroeder is the Warriors can move his contract, and he makes $13 million. So if you decide to make a deal with the Chicago Bulls, and you decide to go beyond just Vucevic. And again, you can get Vooch in a trade that would center around Kevon Looney's expiring, Gary Payton II's expiring. You could do a straight up trade where it's literally those two, Gui Santos and Lindy Waters. And the Warriors could make that trade and then convert Pat Spencer and then promote Kevin Knox and convert their contracts into guaranteed deals and slide just under the cap. You could, in theory, do that. Now, if you want to be a little bold, you throw Dennis Schroeder in as well. And maybe you take out some of those other pieces and simplify the trade. So instead of, let's say, Gui Santos and Lindy Waters, you keep those two and you replace those two with Dennis Schroeder. Now you can get some extra assets. Now you can get potentially the Chicago Bulls, for example. Let me look at the roster real fast because I can tell you a couple of their names on that team in terms of players who don't make a ton of cash but could still be very valuable additions. One guy that comes to mind is Torrey Craig, small forward. He stands 6'6", 6'7", depending on what website you're looking at for his listed height. He could be awesome. We've had people come on the show talking about Lonzo Ball. Now, the problem with Lonzo Ball is he's making $21 million a year, which would complicate things tremendously, and they're not going to be giving up Andrew Wiggins. But you could present a trade where, let's say, it's Schroeder, Gary Payton II, and Kevon Looney's expiring, and you throw in a couple second-round picks to make Chicago happy, so they're getting something out of this besides just ditching contracts after this year. If you do that trade, you could get Vucevic, you could get Torrey Craig. There are some other assets on the Warriors, for example. In the Bulls. Another player who has some ball handling skills is Talen Horton-Tucker, who was playing a point guard-ish version of that position when he was with the Lakers on that championship team. And then I think he went to the Utah Jazz for a little while. Other players on the Bulls that you could look at, Jalen Smith. I don't know if he'd be available, but the Bulls will not trade Kobe White. Do not pretend that that is a realistic option. The Bulls are rebuilding. It doesn't mean they're stupid. They're not going to just give up anybody for anything. So otherwise, White would be like a primary target from that team. But the point is, the Bulls can be a perfect trade partner. You trade Schroeder. You trade all expiring contracts. You're getting back Vucevic, who's under contract through next year, so he's going to be playing with Steph. I think Torrey Craig's on an expiring deal. You could get pieces that could carry you over the top this season, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, and Shirla Brown saying that if it's a she, I hope I got that correct, saying that you do have the talent, the Warriors, right on that bench, but Steve Kerr is stuck in his old, tired, dated plays. Bill M dropping some donations saying Andrew Wiggins untouchable. What the F? Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yet the other night, Bonte Hill was on this program, and again, he's the company man, right? He's going to give you the exact lines that the Warriors will give you, which include, and he said the same thing, that Wiggins is untouchable. I couldn't believe hearing that from him. But again, he's a company man. So I agree. It's absurd, especially given how inconsistent he still is, given the fact that, look, I'm not going to sit here and criticize him for missing a game because of the birth of his second child. First child would be a lot more excusable. But for the amount of time this guy has missed, all I'm saying is there are a lot of professional athletes out there who are far more committed to the game, the sport, and the team than Andrew Wiggins is. And he's owed a lot of money after this season. 2 more guaranteed years after this season. You'd be getting that off your books. I agree, Bill. I think it's absolutely absurd that the Warriors, and when I say Warriors, it's really Steve Kerr, okay? Like for the people out there who are pissed off at Joe Lacob, and I get it. It's justifiable. But don't pretend for a second that Joe Lacob wants Dennis Schroeder, that Joe Lacob doesn't want bigs ever playing. That like Dennis Schroeder is a Kerr guy, not a Lacob guy. Andrew Wiggins is a Kerr guy, not a Lacob guy. Do not fool yourself. I think you can blame Joe Lacob to a certain extent for acquiescing as much as he does to Steve Kerr. That, I think, is legitimate. But in terms of the players on this team, look, I'll let anyone win the argument that James Wiseman was Joe Lacob's guy. Okay, even though that's not true. Steve Kerr takes as much credit for the draft pick as Bob Myers and Joe Lacob do. Now, but with that said, you look at this roster, and it's all Kerr. It's all his guys. I'm gonna show you folks a chart. There's actually a couple charts here. Carson, I see your paid chat as well. I'm gonna get to it in just 1 second. But there are some visuals here to show you what's been going on with this Warriors team lately. And it ain't pretty. And here's the first one. This is a chart. And these are all created by an individual who goes by the handle Automatic NBA, at least on Instagram. I know he's also on Twitter. He created this chart highlighting the NBA's best and worst teams in terms of layups and free throw shooting. All right, and I'll try to articulate this as best as possible for the podcast audience. But if you're watching on YouTube, you should be able to see this fairly clearly. And it's a chart, right? Nothing new there. And this chart, is literally from the I always forget which one's X and Y in terms of the axes, but the horizontal axes represents layups, and then the vertical axes represents free throws. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and you can't see it, all right, so the Sacramento Kings, for example, are one of the best teams both in terms of free throws and layups made. So they're in the top right of this chart. The Indiana Pacers are the league's best team in terms of making layups efficiently, whereas the OKC Thunder are the best team in terms of free throw efficiency, right? And so they're all placed appropriately in this chart. In the bottom left-hand corner, way far down here, like not even close to anyone else, is a little symbol with the Warriors logo. And the fact that they're all isolated down here in this corner, all by themselves, indicates that the Warriors are not just the worst layup team in the NBA. Stephen Curry, to put it in some perspective, even he is struggling a little bit. He's only making 50% of his layups this season. That's not good. A layup should be close to 100% in terms of the accuracy of layups made. Now, I understand it's not going to be 100 because you have defenders, real-time play, the action is moving fast, but 50% from Steph, that just goes to show just how difficult life has been for this Hobbit-sized Warriors team this year. But the free throw part of it. Now, Rick Barry's going to be a part of this thing on a weekly basis starting next week because one of the two new sponsors we're bringing on the program is going to be the title sponsor of the Rick Barry Show. Rick is one of the game's all-time greatest free throw shooters in terms of the all-time rankings. And you're going to get quite a reaction from him in terms of the Warriors and how abysmal they have been this season from the free throw line. Outside of Stephen Curry, outside of, I think, Lindy Waters, Buddy Hield, and Andrew Wiggins. I think those are the four that the team can safely count on for free throws. Everyone else sucks. And that's just sad. That is very sad. Now, that's not the only visual I want to show you folks, all right? There's another one. And this other one is related to height. You're not going to be surprised there either. By the way, have any of you ever put butter on a Pop-Tart? And is that as good as it sounds? That song is so funny from a Family Guy. Every time I hear it, all I think of is that really as good as it sounds? It sounds amazing. I want to get a Pop-Tart. I've had a Pop-Tart in like 25 years. I think I'm going to go to a store and buy some Pop-Tarts just to lather some butter on that thing and see if it is as good as it sounds. I digress. I don't even know why I brought up Pop-Tarts and butter. This chart represents average height and age. And folks, I don't think you're going to be very surprised seeing this either. And now, if you're asking yourself, is there a correlation between the Warriors being the by far shortest team in the NBA and being the worst team in the NBA in terms of layups? Yeah, I think there's a small correlation there. The shorter you are, the harder it is to make baskets. Okay, it's not complicated. And if you look at this chart, same thing as I described before for the podcast audience. You have your x-axis. I don't know if that's what you actually call the horizontal one at the bottom, but that one represents the average age of an NBA player. And then you have the vertical axis. We'll call that the Y in this case. I actually took calculus like my junior year in high school. I'm sorry for forgetting those things. I used to be very good at math. And so the axis that goes vertical represents your average height. And in terms of average height, the Warriors are way down here. The next closest team are the OKC Thunder. There's a nice, decent gap between those two. And then the Knicks are the third shortest team. A little surprised seeing that one. We all know that the Thunder are a smaller team, and I don't think that is a coincidence in terms of them losing a great game to the Cleveland Cavaliers the other night. And then in terms of age, which is the graph, which is the line at the bottom, the Golden State Warriors are the 6th oldest team in the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks are the oldest, followed by the Phoenix Suns, Boston Celtics. What is that team? The Clippers, and the 76ers and the Warriors. But in terms of height, the biggest teams in the NBA include the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Brooklyn Nets, and that's part of that is like guys like Ben Simmons. What's the center they signed this last offseason? I'm drawing a blank on his name. The Memphis Grizzlies, the Utah Jazz, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, Portland Trailblazers, Boston Celtics, Dallas Mavericks, and so forth. The Warriors are far and beyond the smallest team in the NBA. Joel Lacob does not want that. That is a Steve Kerr production, ladies and gentlemen. I also posted all these images on my social media accounts if you want to take a look at them there. My point is the Warriors are small and the Warriors can't make layups. That's a problem. So we shall see what happens. Carson Taylor dropping some ducats, by the way. I apologize. So the first chat comment from Carson Taylor saying you're writing, quote, that you're not opposed to trading Andrew Wiggins, but who is supposed to guard Anthony Edwards? Who's supposed to guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic? We've seen Wiggins flip a switch in the playoffs. Those are good points. I would say ideally, first of all, if you're going to trade Wiggins, you're going to be getting at least someone decent back. But let's say for the sake of argument that you're trading Wiggins, GP2, and Looney for Zion Williamson. All right, and this is all obviously hypothetical, but who's going to defend those guys? Well, first of all, if you have a Zion on your team, Draymond Green is now free to guard whoever the hell he wants. And that's one of the many limitations with the roster currently constructed. Draymond is forced to deal with bigger dudes. Draymond can guard 1 through 5. I don't know if you ideally want him guarding the opposition's fastest guy, but that's not who Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, certainly not Luka Doncic. That's not who they are. So you can rely on Draymond Green for at least some of that defense. You're also going to be relying on Jonathan Kuminga. You're also going to be relying on players like Moses Moody, like Lindy Waters. I know none of this is selling on you. So I get it. It's a huge if. Is that version of Wiggins going to show up in the postseason? Another huge if. Can this team with Wiggins make it to the postseason where that argument would then become relevant? I hear you on that. And that right there is probably why the Warriors have made him untouchable. But again, you can, at least with Luka and to a lesser extent Anthony Edwards, you can scheme around those guys. And side note, by the way, how did Andrew Wiggins do defending those guys in the regular season this year? He's been failing at that. But I hear your point. You make a good point, and it's a good argument for why you do not trade Wiggins. My response to that would be, well, it depends on who you're trading him for. If you're trading him for Jimmy Butler, for example, Butler is just taking that role. And I don't think you're experiencing a drop-off with Jimmy Butler on either side of the ball, offensively or defensively. If you're trading Wiggins as the centerpiece to get, let's say, a Zion or a big, then you can rely on Draymond Green a little more to be that free safety type and guard players like that. That would be a luxury that the Warriors would have if they make a deal like that. It all depends. The second $4.99 donation from Carson Taylor, Colin Sexton this year is averaging 18 points per game. He's shooting, is that right? So Carson, if your stats are correct, you're saying Colin Sexton shoots 43.2% from deep, 48% from the field. He can play the point. So I think what you're trying to argue for here is to trade with the Utah Jazz for a package that includes Colin Sexton and Walker Kessler. Sign me up. I'm all in. And now you're going to have to give up some assets here because Danny Ainge is a Scrooge and he's not going to give those assets up for nothing. All the reports out there indicate that for Walker Kessler, for example, he wants 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler. That's absurd. Now, if you can finagle, a moderate trade with Danny Ainge where you're not getting ripped off, sign me up. Yeah, absolutely. I'm all in. Why don't we get the trade machine? Let's see if we can make this trade happen literally right now. Because why not? So we're going to open up the trade machine and we're going to wheel and deal with the Utah Jazz. Why don't we get some music going here? Where is my strip club music? Oh, it's playing. All right, so we're in the club now. Let's get the screen going. Let me hide your comment here real fast so the visuals will look a little better. All right. Tunes are playing. And we got the trade machine. Let me make this a little bigger for you. So for the YouTube audience, you can see it. All right, a little clearer. So I've been using ESPN's trade machine, and I'm shocked to say that they've apparently put some money into this and improved their trade machine because it's accurate and it's functional. I don't know if you can always say that about the trade machine from ESPN side of things. And again, I've tried the other trade machines for the visual aesthetic value. ESPN's is the best. So we'll roll that, and we're gonna get the Utah Jazz as the second team. So we want Colin Sexton, who's making $18.35 million a year, and he has 2 years remaining on his deal. So you're going to keep him for next season as well, no matter what. And then we're also trading for Walker Kessler, who's not making a lot of money, and that immediately makes this trade way more plausible. I was going to say maybe you replace Kessler with John Collins, because I'm pretty sure the Jazz are more willing to give up Collins. Collins has less value, but John Collins also makes $26.58 million this year, and you also have to pay him next season. So we're talking about Colin Sexton and Walker Kessler. Combined salary, $21.315 million. Who are we giving back? Dennis Schroeder. Suddenly very expendable because Colin Sexton takes a spot. We're going to add GP2, expiring contract, $9 million and change. You could do it just from those two alone. So here's my question to you, Carson, and you don't have to pay another $4.99. Craig Ross is asking, can we get them for free? Not the Walker Kessler part of it. Colin Sexton you can get for cheap. Walker Kessler, Danny Ainge value. So no. So. And I hear you. Craig Ross in the chat is saying, well, the Jazz are tanking. Don't forget, tanking teams still see value in young assets. That's why Cody White of the Bulls is not a player they can get easily. He's young, he's cheap. The Bulls wouldn't mind rolling with him as part of the rebuild. Same story with the Utah Jazz. In theory, Walker Kessler's cheap, he's young. Utah might just want to roll with him. So they're not going to trade him back unless you're giving up 2 first-rounders. That is realistically what you'd have to include here to make this trade a reality. So my question to you, Carson, because you solicited this, and good job, man. You're on fire tonight because you made a great point about the Wiggins aspect. Again, my pushback to that is, look at Luka Doncic's stat line when the Mavericks have played the Warriors this year. Look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's stat line. Look at all the players you listed, Anthony Edwards. They're still lighting it up. It's not like Wiggins is playing lockdown D this year, but I get your point. I get it. And then with your second chat post, you're bringing up why not trade for Colin Sexton and Walker Kessler. You can do it. You can do it and still keep either Kevon Looney or GP2. Hell, you can make another trade with that for someone else cheaper. It's just the question is, for Walker Kessler, there's a price tag attached to that. 2 first-round picks. Carson Taylor is saying, how about you add Moody and Moses? Well, that's, yeah, we don't know if Danny Ainge would want him. We do know Danny Ainge wants Brandon Pajemski. Would the Warriors be willing to give him up as one of the 2 first-rounders? They said no to that this offseason in a huge package that would have been traded for Lauri Markkanen. So, supposedly. We shall see. We shall see. You're asking to include Moody in a hypothetical trade. So let's bust out the trade machine again real fast. We'll adjust this. We'll include Moses Moody, who's scheduled to make $5.8 million this year. Here's another problem with Moody. If Danny Ainge is not enamored with that, he's going to give you a hard no, because starting next season, Moody's making $13+ million. So a lot of that will depend on whether or not Danny Ainge would be interested. But let's say for the sake of argument, he is. You could do Schroeder, you could do Moses Moody, and you'd have to include one more piece. You can, at this point, if you really are fixated on Looney and GP2, you could include a piece like, say, Lindy. No, it was just short. Hold on. So no, Lindy would not work. So you'd probably have to still include either Looney or GP2. So let's say the team likes Looney more. Although, you know what? Let's say that the team likes GP2 more, because last I checked, Looney is no longer in the rotation. GP2 is missing time strictly because of injury. So we'll throw Looney in there. That trade would work, but, oh no, it failed because it's not at 75%. You'd have to bring back something from the Jazz. So what would that third player from the Jazz be? You're not going to get Hendricks. He's a recent draft pick, and I think he's hurt as well. Patty Mills, I guess. Just something to make the trade work. This trade failed. It says cut money from the Jazz. Oh, okay. What's going on here? Why are trades suddenly that difficult? I'm sure you can make it happen, but it does start getting a little complicated when I add Moses Moody to the mix. I just want to get this done real fast. Let's see if what if we take Looney out? No, that doesn't work. Hold on. Hold on, folks. I got to get this done. I want to see a trade here that is actually like approved. Let's try that. Trade failed. Why is the moment you add Moody, it really makes this a complicated trade. I don't know why. Maybe it's glitching. The aggregate, it's according to ESPN's trade machine, it says the aggregate outgoing salaries are greater than 19.6 million. Therefore, they can only accept incoming aggregate salaries that don't exceed 125% of that value plus 100,000. So cut some money out from the Jazz is what it's saying. Okay, but then if I do that, so we cut out Zuzang and we hit say try this trade. It said it failed because the aggregate salaries, something tells me, oh, because I included Buddy Hield accidentally. Is that what I did wrong? Hold on. I know this is great content here, folks. Just me playing with a trade machine. Yay. I gotta, no, for Carson's sake, I gotta make this a green light before you go. Hold on one second. Let's see where's Looney. Okay, let's get Looney back in the mix. Jesus. I don't know. For some reason, I can't get a trade going, Carson. The moment I get Moody involved, it just collapses on me. Anyways, I'm done. All right. Any final thoughts from anyone? Medina. You made me laugh. Well, regardless, the Warriors won, folks. That's good news. Tomorrow night, Paul McCaffrey is going to join me for the second of a back-to-back. I still can't believe the Warriors play more back-to-backs than any other team in the NBA. How is that justified? How is that even a thing? Like, why are the Warriors playing more back-to-backs than any other team in the NBA, and that's allowed? It's a blatant competitive disadvantage that only the Warriors face. It's absurd. Let's go around the rest of the NBA real fast as we wrap it up. Let's check out the scoreboard. Bunch of games going on tonight. The Lakers and the Hornets game, which was scheduled for tonight at Crypto in LA, has been postponed because of those fires. For anyone out there who's affected by that, sincerest condolences. Dime Dropper, I don't know if you folks are familiar with that name. It's a handle that an individual uses. He hosts Clippers programs, and his house burned down. Gone. And I'm sure a lot of you know people. Steve Kerr's family home in Pacific Palisades burned down. Gone. His 90-year-old mother reportedly lived in that house. His sister confirmed that story to be true. So this thing is affecting a lot of people. And that game got postponed as a result. So it's just a horrific situation. Yeah, my condolences to everyone involved in that. That just sucks. A great game tonight in the Western Conference between the Houston Rockets, who traveled to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. The Rockets hang on in that game and win 119-115. Alperen Sengun leading the Rockets with 32 points, 14 rebounds. Jaren Jackson Jr., 21 points, 8 rebounds, 6 blocks in the loss for the Memphis Grizzlies. Houston improves to 25-12, and the Grizzlies drop to 24-14. Huge implications there in terms of the top of the Western Conference standings. The Dallas Mavericks, missing a lot of players because of injuries, still hung on at home to defeat the Portland Trailblazers tonight, 117-111. Dallas improves to 22-16. Portland drops to 13-24. Derek Lively, the second, 21 points, 16 rebounds, 3 blocks in the win for the Dallas Mavericks. Shaedon Sharpe, 22 points, 8 rebounds in the loss for Portland. The Minnesota Timberwolves defeating the Orlando Magic in the Magic Kingdom tonight, 104-89. Minnesota improving to 20-17. The Magic dropped to 22-17. Julius Randle tonight, 23 points, 10 rebounds. A top performer for the Timberwolves. Badats, who I would love on the Warriors. Side note, I don't think he's available in a trade, though. 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks in the loss for the Orlando Magic. The Toronto Raptors putting up a fight in Cleveland tonight, but they lost 132-126. The final in a high-scoring affair. Cleveland improves to 33-4. That's absurd. The Toronto Raptors dropping to 8-30. That's right. Yeah, Jesus. Darius Garland, 40 points, 9 assists in the win. Scotty Barnes, 24 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists in the loss. And 2 games that are going on right now. So if you're watching or listening to the recorded version of this, these games will likely be finished. The Utah Jazz right now playing a tight one at home against the Miami Heat. Yes, the same Miami Heat that beat the Golden State Warriors just 2 nights earlier in San Francisco. The Jazz currently leading that game 81-80. Colin Sexton with 19 points. Carson Taylor's boy, Jaime Jaquez, 14 points, 6 assists for the Miami Heat. And the Phoenix Suns, a team that's in turmoil right now. And they reportedly are the one team that's willing to pay Jimmy Butler the money he wants. So do not be surprised if that's where Jimmy Butler ends up in a trade. Anyways, they currently lead the Atlanta Hawks 103-97. Bradley Beal with 21 points in that game for the 16-19 Suns. The Hawks in this game are 19-18, but again, they trail by 6. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 17 points for the Hawks. And again, Bradley Beal, I mentioned, 21 points. And that is your scoreboard. And in the standings right now, with the Warriors winning tonight in Detroit. Again, the final score in this one, 107-104. The Warriors stay above 500. They're more specifically a game above 500. Currently 9th in the standings in the Western Conference at 19-18. Again, the OKC Thunder have the West pretty much wrapped up. I mean, I'm not literally saying that, but it would shock me if anyone caught him. The Houston Rockets are 5.5 games behind him, second place. The Memphis Grizzlies in third. The Denver Nuggets in fourth. Mavericks and Lakers round out your top 6. That's who would make the playoffs if the season ended today. And then who would make the play-in? It would be the Minnesota Timberwolves as your 7th seed, the LA Clippers as your 8th seed, the Golden State Warriors a game behind the Clippers. The Clippers are 20-17, the Warriors 19-18, and then the San Antonio Spurs would be your 10 seed. The Spurs are 18-19 a game behind the Warriors. So if the season ended today, the way the play-in tournament would look is you'd have Minnesota hosting the Clippers 7-8, and then you'd have the Warriors hosting the Spurs in a single elimination do or die game. If the Warriors somehow beat the Spurs at home, then they travel to the loser of the Timberwolves Clippers game, and that would be a battle for the 8th seed. So that's how it's playing out right now. Oh, try bringing up, if you're watching this live, go check it out. Notre Dame's playing in the college football playoff. Craig Ross, yes, correct. The Golden State Warriors are behind the Clippers. And yes, sir, or miss, I don't know if I ever got your gender, Bloomer Way vibes, but yeah, we won, baby. The Warriors are winners. And it's a big win. It's a big win. When you're this shorthanded and Gui Santos is stepping up for you. Bravo. Good stuff. Val Sharpton in the chat asking, who would you replace Kerr with? I've said this before and I'll say it again. Mike Brown. It would be seamless. The timing actually works out beautifully. But again, these conversations are just that. In reality, he's not going anywhere. It's safe to say that, at least for this season, unless things really just implode and you have players revolting, I don't really see much change coming. But yeah, Mike Brown would be my answer. Craig Ross saying Gui Santos is the GOAT. We're back at this tomorrow night, folks. Paulie Max joining us. Go subscribe to his channel, Paulie's Particles. He's now part of the YouTube scene, like all of us who once were working in these legacy media organizations. And we've all meandered here, so you can catch us on this platform. Thank you, as always, to everyone. Again, the Golden State Warriors, a win's a win. It was ugly. A lot of them are. But incredibly, the season is not wasted. That is what that 12-3 start does for you. It's why it's so goddamn important. You can go through pure misery like this and yet somehow survive. It's insane, but they got to do something soon. Okay, just because you barely hung on to beat the Pistons doesn't mean that things are suddenly copacetic. Far from it. Make a trade, please. I look at my phone every 2-3 hours in the middle of the night, hoping and praying I could come and sit down in this chair and look in that camera and announce good times are coming for the Warriors because they finally made a sensible trade. Please make it happen. Please. Please, Mr. Lacob. Please, Mr. Mike Dunleavy Jr. Make it happen for us! I'm doing my Bill Kennedy there, my impersonation. Please, please, Mr. Lacob. Bill Kennedy, what a joke. Awful, awful. Official, like most of them are. Thank you, everyone. And we'll be back at this soon. Bye.